There we go. Record to computer. Excellent. We did it. Professional. Yeah, I'm gonna try to turn this one around. I can't talk now that I hit record. See, I'm gonna try to turn this one around quickly and have it come out on Monday. Because why not?
Yeah.
But I've also started editing way less. I'm like, yeah, that is just gonna have to stay. I'm done with it. I don't care.
Yeah. Your people are your people, and you got them, so you're good. Like, you know.
Yeah. Mostly, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Oh, how do we start these? One of these days, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself.
You should play me in with like Inside Out from my 2005 retreat for InterVarsity, where we listened to that Hillsong song for 6 hours.
Say what? You did what?
We listened to the same Hillsong.
Oh, the
song
everlasting, your light will shine when all this. Yeah.
Oh man, we were in it. We were so in it, man. Like all about it. Well, hands raised in the car.
If it wasn't 1,000 times, you didn't sing it.
Exactly.
1,000 times that you failed at singing it. You got to hit the right notes.
It's good, man. It hits all the things, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, here we go. The Jonathan Walton. Man. There we go. See, like there's the M. See, it's powerful now. It's powerful now. I don't even know how many times this is now. I think it's 4, 3.
I think it's 4. But you're my favorite podcast, man. Like,
really? That's a lie.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a lie. Well, I appreciate that. I don't listen to me, so I appreciate you. Yeah.
No, I only binge you. Like, I will listen to like 10 episodes. Like, got enough, Seth. Amen. And then we go on. You know. Yeah.
got enough. That should be my wife's shirt. All right, got enough. Get out of the. Yeah. Anybody that's been married long enough. Hey, I've had enough of you.
Yes.
You can go mow the grass. You can pretend to fix something. I don't care what you do. I need you to move
over there. Yes.
Take one of these kids with you. Just take one.
Right.
I'll see you tonight. Yeah. So you and I were chatting. Well, no, before we get there, what's new? It's been maybe a year, man. Maybe not a year. Close to that
since I've been on, I think. Not since we last talked, but new stuff is all of our bathrooms. They all broke at the same time. So like I was in
this is why you like watching Alone.
I was in one. Yeah, seriously. I was in our primary bathroom, and I said, hey, I'm gonna go downstairs and like wash the dishes, because like when one's showering, you can get the dishes done, right? And then I hear it dripping, and I'm like, there's water coming through the ceiling. So that sucked. And basically, when they put this bathroom in, they didn't seal the shower, so the floor was rotting under.
What do you mean seal the shower?
So when you install a shower, there's a waterproof rubber thing that goes about 6 inches up on the entire board of the shower.
Just in case.
Yeah, they didn't put that in. So between the grout, like water moves, it goes down. Like that's what it does. And so it leaked through and then ran down through the ceiling. And so then we were like, all right, well, we can't use that shower. So let's go to the other bathroom, because praise God, we have more than one shower. And we go in there, and I have 2 daughters and a wife, and their hair clogs the drain. So I go to unclog the drain, and the silly putty in that was holding the pipe to the tub dislodges. And so the water that was running through the tub ran down through the ceiling into the dining room. And so after that got fixed, we realized, like the pipes are all bad. So the joke that I have with the contractor that has been here for the last 6 months since the first flood that happened with Hurricane Ida is the skin of our house is really pretty. But the bones are terrible. Like our house has osteoporosis. So that's new. But our house looks great, but inside it vacuums up all of our money. And the other cool thing is that we finally published the Emotional Healthy Activist course. So you can get it on Amazon and all that stuff. And it's not like I didn't write it to go viral and all that stuff. I wrote it to disciple people, and we have some groups going through it now. And it's just great, man, to work with activists, to be talking with them, to move towards being healthy and not burn out and not, beholden to all the things, the pride, the narcissism, the hurry. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm going to assume that it is, because you're a professional public speaker. I mean, your name is on books, right? And you're on a website. I've seen it. And so when you say the skin of our house is pretty, but the bones are rotten, I feel like that is the perfect segue for what we're actually going to talk about.
I feel like we're just avoiding it because it sucks. So, but yeah, we could start for real. You're right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely right.
So you messaged me. Actually, a lot of people messaged me, but I didn't actually begin to watch the thing until you messaged me, because I didn't feel like it. But then you're like, yeah, you should watch this. So I watched it while I cleaned my basement. So I wasn't quite watching the screen, but close enough, walking past the TV, every 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, because my basement looks similar to what's behind you. If you look over there, there's just an explosion of pink and toys and Barbies and
right.
Life. Yeah. So I watched this documentary about Hillsong on Discovery Plus, who is not sponsoring the show. You're welcome, Discovery Plus.
Go get that free subscription.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, you get a free week. If you're listening, you can definitely get a free week. But you might want to put it on your calendar to cancel it, because if not, you're losing a crappy Starbucks coffee, which is what happened to me. So neither here nor there. So for those that don't have Discovery Plus or are afraid to cancel another subscription, what would you say this 3-part docuseries? I don't know what the word is for it.
Yeah, I think a docuseries. Yeah, docuseries. Yeah, it's a minute. At the Emmys, it'd probably be a mini series, right, or a special run or something. It will not be nominated. Let's be clear about that. But I would say, if you want the most up-to-date explanation of the rot that is in modern evangelicalism, then you should watch it. Like, it is the most up-to-date depiction of like Matthew 18 to 23.
So for those that don't read the Bible, sometimes that's me. What is Matthew? What are those chapters? Like, what? Paraphrase those for
me. So God, like Jesus, it's calling out. So the woes, like woe unto you, like that happens. Resolving conflict that did not happen at Hillsong, but happens in Matthew 18. You have Jesus interacting with the Pharisees and calling out religious leaders and their hypocrisy over and over again. And the thing that the two passages that stand out to me from 18 to 23 is Jesus says, "It is better for you to have a millstone put around your neck and for you to be thrown into the sea than for you to mislead one of my children." That's one. And that should bring solace for people who follow and sober for people who lead, right? And then, Jesus says, you whitewash tombs, like outside you're very pretty, but inside you're full of dead bones, right? And that, to me, like, if we want to know what that looks like in our context, then watch Hillsong. Like, watch that, if you weren't around for Ted Haggart and, Jerry Falwell Jr. and like all of that stuff, but like to be clear about like the attractiveness, the multi-layered attractiveness of it. And I live in New York City. I've been to Hillsong New York City. I knew leaders at Hillsong New York City, all that. Like, this is the environment that I saw, but it's an exceptionally done, actually well produced, like, depiction of like what modern day hypocrisy, idolatry, and sin looks like, I think.
Yeah. I also want to say for those listening that haven't watched it, this conversation is not a spoiler because this is actual news.
Right.
In an actual church body, it's not a novel. It's not a show that we're all going to binge together. So I'm going to say whatever I want about the series. And if you're like, oh, I really wish I didn't know about pedophiles until episode 2. Sorry, it's coming in episode 3. Like, surprise, it's happening.
Right.
So I just want to put that out there. I'm going to say whatever I want. So Jonathan, you say whatever you want, because I don't think you can spoil the news. Also in related news, last week a black individual happened to be killed up in the northern part of the United States. Also news. I'm not spoiling that. Russia's also still invading Ukraine. Will Smith is banned from the Oscars. Like, none of these are spoilers. These are news. So which episode? So episode 1 was mostly Carl Lentz, correct? No, episode 1 was about the foundation of Hillsong, like the 6 C's of the church, like the churches.
So if people do not know what the 7 Mountain strategy is, like Bethel, same stream. Betsy DeVos, same stream.
Wait, you mean like Education Secretary Betsy DeVos?
Oh yeah, they're like right-wing donors, like the last 30 years, like all their money.
Huh.
There's like their books back there. All right, so quick history lesson. Real fast. So basically, the anti-intellectualism that is baked into modern evangelicalism started when the church, quote unquote, when really we're talking about like white Protestant conservative churches, start to lose, quote unquote, their foothold on the moral authority of America, right?
Jimmy Carter.
Yes, Jimmy Carter. And so one of the stakeholders of modern evangelicalism and the moral majority that Jerry Falwell started was anti-intellectualism, which is why you have Liberty University, which is why Jerry Falwell is more important, I would argue, than Billy Graham. Because Jerry Falwell built a school and planted churches, right? Wheaton at least pursues academia in that way. Jerry Falwell literally said, I'm going to buy a library, put it in my school so we can pretend, and then put notes in books that you were supposed to read and notes in books that you weren't. Like, that's literally what he said. Right. And so I have 4 biographies of Jerry Falwell back there. These are his words, not mine. Like, I'm just telling you.
And just a quick timeout. I'm an alumni. I can attest that this is correct. I went to Liberty for those that don't know that for some reason. Yes. All right. Time back in.
And so the DeVos family is part of that white evangelical milieu from the 1920s to the 1960s that amassed an enormous amount of wealth and then bankrolled the TV stations, churches, universities, publishing companies that now dominate Christian discourse in the United States. So Maytag, that dude, right? Sunoco, that CEO. JCPenney, that CEO. The CEO of Time Magazine, Hearst, like all of those people were quote unquote Christians and would leverage their resources to build the institutions that we live with right now, right? And so the DeVos family, I'm trying to remember how he got his money. I think it's in like boats, but I don't remember. I'm sorry. Somebody could go look that up. Like Carnival, like cruises.
Do the Googles. Yeah.
But basically a billionaire. He is a billionaire, right? And so what they chose to put their money into was the education portion of the 7 Mountain strategy. So 7 Mountain strategy is to grab these sectors of society and take it over. So business, media, religion, politics, education, military, and something else. So you've got like all these people in these places called 7 Mountain strategy. So Redding, California, and the town of Jefferson, or the state of Jefferson, like this small secession movement, Christian nationalist movement that's being birthed out of Bethel Church in Redding, California, like is the embodiment of that 7 Mountain strategy played out in the US.
And that's still a history lesson, this Or is that right now?
Well, it's connected to right now. So because Hillsong is the 7 Mountain strategy from Australia coming to America. Bethel is a 7 Mountain strategy that is purely American. Yeah. And the DeVos family has bankrolled that, which is how Betsy DeVos ended up in the Department of Education.
Yeah. So 7 Mountain strategy. How does that relate to the 6 C's that they're discussing in episode 1, which is that Hillsong is going to be a church, a concert, and then he says music. So he gives a caveat just for alliteration. He says, we'll call it CDs, which is funny because my kids don't know what a CD is. It's going to be a college. It's going to produce cinema and music videos and that type of stuff and other things. And then it's going to like lead conferences. That's only 6. So how do those two kind of conflate together?
So what he's trying to do, and you see this in how it's incorporated as a LLC, not as a church or nonprofit. And so what they decide to do is they're going to focus on 3 of the mountains, one of them being media, right? The other one being churches. And the last one didn't work itself out until today when you had Trump and then Brian Houston ending up in the White House, which is politics, right? And so the execution of it was, let's try to dominate like Christian culture through entertaining people every week. So new songs, our songs, publishing, licensing, radio, like we will blast it out over and over and over again. And we will tap celebrities and tap influencers. This is like, before social media, like they had Darlene Check, like this child star that was trusted. So you start to get people to come to church for an experience as opposed to coming to church to meet people and meet Jesus, right? Because experiences are powerful, right? And it was a big deal in New York City when people were like, if I go to church, I could see Justin Bieber. If I go to church, I could see Kevin Durant. If I go to church, there's 7 services because there's so many people. What am I missing, right? We were supposed to be going to see Jesus, but we're actually lined up like we're going to get a cronut, right? Like the croissant donut when that was happening. And so they mastered that, the marketing of it. And so I think in episode 1, what you really get is a picture of how Christianity, quoting, air quotes, and capitalism work together. But I mean, supercharged in ways that it was even hard for me to fathom how they did that.
The part that made me pause, rewind, and come back and like sit down on the couch for a minute and be like, wait, what did she say? There's a student that went out there. I feel like she's like from Maryland or like somewhere around here, like East Coast. And they have her like sign an NDA. And like she was used to her church being like, we will take care of you. We have you. This is a safe place. She had like some veterans scholarship. And then Hillsong's like, yeah, that's our money. But also here's an NDA.
Yep.
I've not been in enough parts of any form of ministry to know why a church would even require an NDA of someone that they're teaching. I can maybe see it be someone that's an employee, due to like counseling. Even then, I mean, I work for a bank. We don't have an NDA. You know what I mean? Like we have a non-compete when you quit. Like you're not going to like take people with you, but you don't have an NDA.
Right. And I mean, I work for a large evangelical organization, and when the NDAs come out, that's when you need to leave. Like, let's just be clear about that. Like if that's part of the box of things, like it's just maybe not where you want to be at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that something that that's fascinating to me is how organizations exist to protect themselves. And that, I mean, and that when she said, I never saw the money, right? And like the constant volunteering, the invitation to give more, like the way to engage, the way to belong is to work, right? Like all of those things coming together, and then the dismissal of people when they were done or couldn't perform or asked for more. Sign the NDA, we're gonna move on. And like that Yeah, and to say and to associate Hillsong or your person moving on from you as like the cloud over the Israelites moving on, and that left outness is that's the costly toxic thing, because she stops and says like, I need a minute, because she names it, and then I think she's reminded of like, this was my life, and so
for some reason when you said when there's an NDA you need to like leave, all I can in the back of my mind, probably because you were talking about liberty in brief a minute ago, is just keep thinking NDA and the Liberty Way and making it like a rhyme, like music, which Liberty is not Hillsong, but
they did have a slew of NDAs though, so
yeah, just NDA and the Liberty Way, which can't be the episode title, which is awful because it's fantastic. Different episode. So first episode is that, and I could ask more questions about that. Second episode was the one that surprised me the least, which is like the idolization of our ministers, and then being like, "Hey, Bieber, you have the yummy yum. Will you come and sing with me and take pictures on the beach with me because you're bringing your people?"
Yes.
Do you think that always happens? Be it Sean Foyt, be it any other charismatic minister, and it doesn't really seem to matter what the time period is. Like, I'm sure if I did more research, like I would find people in the 1700s like that, and in the 1800s like that. Probably not as easily mass produced because there's no internet, but if there was, is that ability to do that, is that inherent of faith as a whole? Or is it something that is more tied to like a more charismatic version of faith because it's so much more emotional? Because like as a Baptist in the back where I'm like, yeah, put your hands down. We don't even stand for the second song. Sit down. We don't stand. Sit down.
I think the second one is the least surprising, but the most important, right? And I say that because this is old, right? So John 3, Gospel of John chapter 3, this happens in Acts, I think 9. It also happens in John 3, where the disciples of different people gather together and say, "Hey man, hey, you're really popular, but that dude's more popular than you. Like we gotta get our shit together. Like Jesus is baptizing more people than you. Can you like get on it right now? Like, because I'm following you and I'm down, but like I don't have, like, we ain't rolling as deep as him. So like, right? And then there's this moment, and I think there's this moment where John says like, I can only give what I received, right? And so he actually, stands against the willingness of the people to prop him up, right? And so we see that also when it's like when Paul's people and Peter's people and Apollos people like come together and say, hey Paul, hey Peter's over there, like he's throwing his jacket out and people are getting healed. Like, what are you doing? Like, we gotta step our game up, And
is that a dig at Benny Hinn? Is that what that is? You're digging at Benny Hinn?
Well, Benny Hinn got it from Peter, but I think Peter's actually worked. I don't know what was in his jacket. Maybe anthrax. I don't know. But listen, like the reality that like I think we as people desire to like Israel to have a king. Like we just want a king. We want to put somebody there, and I think it takes a special kind of person to reject it. Like to resist the divination of yourself because you have an audience and because you have charisma and all that stuff. Like I remember a personal story. I was in the city. I was leading students, and the only space big enough at this hotel was the lobby for us to meet in each morning. And we'd study scripture. I give a quick exhortation, and then we would go out and feed the homeless. We did this every day for like 8 weeks. So the staff are watching me over and over again do this. And finally, one of the women says to me, she goes, "I'm so glad that you don't lead a cult. I'm so glad." She said, because I would do anything that you said. Like day after, she was like, "I'm so glad." And I just looked at her and I was like, "Shit, man, like me too. Like, I'm glad I'm no leader cult, you know.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's something about the what's the word? The not toxic. The what's a fancy word for attraction? The like the
fancy
draw.
word for attraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Draw sounds good. Yeah. Yeah,
like
the gravity, like the magnet. Yeah, like when I think of attraction, like I for some reason think of black holes. Like I can't not fall into this. Like I got too close, and I'm in it now. I'm not getting out. Yeah,
right. Yeah. It is like a vacuum, right? Like that to me is like, cause man, like that. Oh, I don't even know how. Like that episode. I'm from Virginia, like Carl Lentz. I'm from, like, I know people who knew him at his church in Virginia Beach that I've met in New York. And it's dangerous. Like when Jesus goes to the desert and is tempted with the whole world, right? Like, are we willing to like say no? And Carl Lentz wasn't. And I mean, you know, I think it was fascinating that they got the woman to, I mean, that's a spoiler if you want one, but like they got the woman to like share the texts and play the videos and all that. I was like,
when she popped on, I literally was like, oh no. Like I paused it for a minute. I was like, I don't, because you could just see on her face, hurt's not the word. Like, like, so she looked like, so when I buried my dad a few years ago, she looked like that. Not like my dad, but like people sitting there broken in a way that you're like, I don't care what you say. Like, thank you for coming. Shut your mouth. Like, I'll tell you about my dad, but this is hollow. Like it's not, this is just a story and it was painful. And
right.
I'm not here to talk. There's no good news there. Like it's the opposite of good news. When I saw her pop on, I was like, oh no, like I don't, I read it. I saw it. I read the Instagram post. Yeah. What I want. So how do you think that pastors that become that are because they're willing to volunteer to lead a thing when others are not willing to volunteer? Like they're like, send me, and then they end up liking it.
No. Cause I'm in that boat, right? Like I resist that boat as best as I can. And I'm constantly asking myself, is this about me or is this about Jesus? Like, is this about what I say it's about, you know? And
think about how good your bathroom could be if you would just ask people for their money.
Seriously.
Right? Like it wouldn't even leak.
Right. It is, I think, okay, how do I want to say this? You know, in the vernacular of how I grew up, it'd be like, when you start to think your shit don't stink, when you start to think like, when you start to believe the hype, like when you start to actually do that, it is a dangerous place to be in because you will always have someone gassing you up, you know, because they get enmeshed with you, right? And then it's, you know, if anybody has ever watched Scandal or any of these shows where like the person riding the coattails of the person is more passionate than the person themselves, almost. It's like they, you know, in House of Cards, it was like Jake Stamper, right? Like the person that's like, I'm riding with them and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they succeed, because if they succeed, I succeed. There's this enmeshment thing. But if the leader starts to believe that about themselves, like I'm grateful for Priscilla, I'm grateful for you, I'm grateful for Sue, like people in my life that remind me like I'm a human being, you like I'm a normal person with like bathroom problems, like that, I have kids that like literally, I have kids that like, I've got a potty over here that I hope is cleaned out, but my dog might have eaten the stuff that was in there. Like this is like this life stuff, right? Like, like no
you need a new
matter.
dog. You need a new
Right.
dog. If the
Snow
dog is
Bear.
willing to do that, you need a new dog.
Snow Bear is just committed to the weirdest stuff. But that's what I mean, right? Like if I tell myself I'm more than what I am, I'm close enough to people to remind me that I'm just Jonathan. Like,
yeah.
I'm just Jonathan,
Yeah.
So
yeah. So how does a church resist celebrity? Because like, so say for instance, like out here in Charlottesville where I live, like The Rock owns a house. If he shows up at a church on Sunday, it's a thing. And that's the cool church now. Like he showed up at Church of the church,
whatever,
church. I don't know if he even what, it doesn't matter. Like how does a church resist the celebrity?
Yeah, like it's okay. I hate that because it's I remember a conversation with a former mentor of mine. He drew a diamond on a napkin and he said, there's easy and hard, and there's simple and complicated. And very few things are hard and complicated, right? It is not hard to, in James, it says, have no respect of persons. It's not hard. It's complicated. You have to figure out how you're going to do it, but it's not hard. Right. Like, and what we do, like it, like we really have to take seriously the things that Jesus says, like, or well, it's the book of James, I think is the most helpful there, where it's just like, hey, the only religion that is faultless and blameless is like to serve the poor. Can we like, what if there was no translation issue there? There's no like Hebrew or Greek, Latinate thing that we have to go back. What if that's just what it is? Like that's just what it is. Like that. That's the truth. What if we said like faith without works is dead? Oh, I have to live these things out. Like like what if we did that? And I think it's really hard because we want to be attached to somebody who will stamp us as good and special.
Yeah. I have never listened to a message from Hillsong. I've listened to a lot of the music, which I'm still kind of torn with because like the music
their point. Yeah.
is written in a way that like the kids will sing it. And when my kids start singing in the car, I don't change the channel. It really doesn't matter what the song is, by the way. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I just like listen to them sing off key. Makes me laugh.
Right.
Is the message of a church like Hillsong more closely aligned to a prosperity type of gospel or something? Because I've never listened to him speak.
Oh yeah. No worries. Here's what I mean. I'm listening to Hillsong. My brother, so Nathan, awesome pastor. He's now the pastor in East End Fellowship in Richmond. Really great place to go worship. He did his dissertation on the prosperity gospel. Like that was his thing. Because of it's just toxicity in my own family and like how that's broken relationships and sow a seed, all that BS, right? And so what Hillsong does and churches like it, because if I'm in Sudan, prosperity gospel is not going to work. I'm in a desert, right? Like I'm in a war-torn country. I'm thinking about South Sudan, the child soldiers that I talk with, the exploited people. Like prosperity gospel is not going to work, right? But if I'm in Lagos, where there's a little bit of money, a little bit of resources, some corruption, like it works, right? Because you got this slice of people who are economically disadvantaged, who can be in relationship with people who are recently advantaged, and then they think, okay, I could be like them one day, right? And so you need that slice of people. And if you're in an urban setting with people who are quote unquote dreaming and like all these different things, like, and we idolize like productivity, like rise and grind, and like you're surrounded by people who are quote unquote making it, like all that stuff, you can create this environment, cobble together some verses, like text jacking is what we call it. Like when we preach, like just like grab these things here and sprinkle the prayer of Jabez here and sprinkle a little bit of Psalm 139 here, and enlarge my territory here, Jesus. And then you get a sermon. You play some songs, you get some people believe in that, and you have enough people who will do it. like who will actually quote unquote succeed. You platform them and the treadmill runs, man.
Yeah. So as a business, how does Hillsong separate its worship music? And there's also like Hillsong Young and Free and Hillsong United, and I don't even know the difference between all those Hillsongs. Like I have no idea. Like I don't. What is it like? The B team, the A team, the C team, and this.
Well,
like,
imagine K-pop, right? So if you ever, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, go and listen to K-pop.
But K-pop, I'm not doing it. I'm afraid to, because I like music and a lot of people like it, and I'm probably the one that's wrong. I just don't want to listen to
it. You're not wrong. You're just not there yet. You know, you're on the treadmill. Like you'll get there eventually, because your kids will grow up, be teenagers, and like their BTS is coming for them, butter all day. But what they learned, like there was a record executive, his name slips my mind right now, but he was like, if I just start burning through these artists, I'll make a ton of money. And so that's what they do. Like, it's not just like one album a year, it's like multiple albums a year. Like, I mean, they are churning through artists like in South Korea. And that is a very similar thing to what Hillsong did with their B team and A team and C team. Like they just said, oh, this works. Let's turn the crank. We'll start because everything's connected, right? Those C's you said, let's get the conferences going. We'll have that stream of revenue. That'll get people singing the songs. Then we'll send those people home, and then we'll start a worship school, because we don't have that degree yet. Like we haven't academized that yet. And people want to come learn from us. So then we'll get those people to write their songs for free. Actually, they're going to pay us to write those songs. Then we're going to own those songs. And then they're going to sing in our group. So we're going to make all the money, and they're not going to make any.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How is that any different from what like Passion does or Bethel does?
Not.
Or
it's not.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So
could I just started by Jerry Falwell?
Could I just take Passion out? Could I just take the word Hillsong out and just put in Passion? Or could I take out how do you say her name? Taya? The girl that sings Ocean, that sings wonderful. I would listen to her sing anything.
Yeah.
She has a private release out now. Like, are her and David Crowder just plug and play? Like, is it the same kind of mentality?
I don't. So here's where I think there's gradients, right? So like I'm friends with Andy Mineo, right? I know like some performance artists, right? And it is the swing is constant for folks like that. You know, I don't want to name drop Andy or like put him out there, but like I love
Andy.
Right. But the tension is real.
I don't know Andy, but I love his music. Yeah.
Of course. Right. I hear you. Right. And so like the tension is real. All right. Like one of my friends, Jivo, just dropped his last album. And like I watched him like go back and forth with like the industry and like how things work. Right. I think what we can plug and play is the image. I don't think we can plug and play the individual. Right. So the image that's projected, particularly when you just connect the dots, like, oh, like this person is with Capitol Records and that person, like it's owned by this person, like, you know, like the money trail, right? Like if I go to Bible Gateway, I'm giving Rupert Murdoch money. That's really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, 70% of Christian media in the United States is owned by Rupert Murdoch. Zondervan, like all that. Yeah. Zondervan, Murder, Thomas Nelson. Yeah. Right. So yeah, they make money off our prayer requests. Did you know that?
How is this possible? Like
they mine people's prayer requests and book notes to sell ads on BibleGateway.com.
So wait. So I don't go to Bible Gateway often. So you can submit a prayer request at Bible Gateway?
You can like make comments in your Bible. You can have notes in your Bible. You can have prayer requests. You could share like Bible images. Like it's a whole network.
Are you talking about the Bible app?
No, that's U Bible. That's different. Well, that's U version or our Bible, depending which one, or Olive Branch. Like there's different ones, but Bible Gateway, definitely a machine. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, there's an article about that.
I think I'm the most mad about that.
Well, so the KTF team, right? The Keeping the Faith team, like the Substack we run from the anthology that we published that you were featured in, right? Like we all read that and we're like, what like really? Like, and then it made sense because I went to Bible Gateway to look at something, and then the ad tracked me, and I was like, oh, Like I was like, really? And it was the Let's Go Brandon t-shirt. And I was like, I'm not about that life. But that was where it started. And then it followed me across. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So anyway.
So maybe you know, maybe you don't know. So my wife and I and family, we were on vacation. We went to Dollywood
yes, you
a few weeks ago. And it was great. I bought that vacation in 2019. And then because of COVID, we just kept having to kick the can because they wouldn't give me my money back. So we've had this cabin reserved for 2 years. It was fun though. Till the wildfires made us evacuate a day and a half early because literally the mountain was on fire that we were sleeping on. Evacuated at 1:30 in the morning. Grab your crap, put it in the car. Who's got the dogs?
Get out.
Do we have the anxiety medicine for the kid? Because that we can't forget. Everything else we'll go buy it again if we need it. You know.
Right. Because
that all happened. Trees down. 80 fire trucks coming up the mountain. It was great. It was a good deal. First time that ever happened to me. That was fun. I've evacuated for tornadoes and hurricane, but never done that. So we did it together. I just need a tsunami, I think. And I think I have them all. So in Seaverville there, or in Pigeon Forge or whatever, there was a shirt that sells, the shirts, the $10, $12 shirts that say all the things. And it is Let's Go Brandon everywhere. Like next to I Love Dolly, there's a Let's Go Brandon shirt, Trump 2024, don't blame me, I didn't vote for whatever.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to me. But the funny part is, and this has nothing to do with Hillsong, but your comment made me think of it. There was a kid, maybe my middle child's age, so around 9, 10, and front display when you walk in, which, thank you, Seaverville. There is one that says F Joe Biden, but it doesn't say F. It's just the whole sentence. Here we go. And then next to it is a Let's Go Brandon shirt. And the mom said, you can't buy that one, but I'll let you buy the Let's Go Brandon shirt. And I literally laughed out loud. Walked out of the store because I gotta look for my wife. And she's like, what? I was like, they're the same damn thing. They mean the same thing. I don't even know why you're playing like they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So wrap it back around, right? Like capitalism is a crank that we will turn until it breaks. Right. And so like you can literally buy a Bible that is not a Bible, but it holds your Glock. Like it's a Bible cover, but when you open it up, like it's your ammunition and your clip or whatever, and the gun. And like that, like, and Hillsong is in the same vein. And if you listen to, it is in episode 3, I think, where they just start to break down the empire. Like this is how many properties they own, how many buildings they own, how much land they own, whose name it's in, like how the cards, like the expenses work, like tithing money literally tied to like food and shoes and expensive bags. Like it's they just start cranking it out. Like, well, we do one song, let's do 2 songs, let's get another group, let's do another conference, let's get 30 cities, right? Like the one of the commentators like explained it really, really well. Like, and it's in that practical step. Like, it is not a nonprofit, it is not a church, it is incorporated as a limited liability corporation. Like that's very clear. And they weren't, that wasn't hidden, if you asked about it.
Yeah. And what's cool about that for people that live in the United States, so because they're not a nonprofit, they actually are not restricted by the Johnson Amendment. So they can say whatever they want about politics, and they can give as much money as they want because of the court case when President Obama was there. So now corporations are people. So yay for that.
Citizens United 2010.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So people should watch this show. I have a couple more questions though. Yeah, it's worth the $5, even if you hypothetically forget. Yeah, and then email Jonathan, because in a minute we're going to make sure we get some contact information, and he will tell you what else to watch on Discovery Plus, because it sounds like you only know what's there because you also may have forgotten to cancel it. Is this
No, I canceled it, but friend, that window was open for a long time, so I just kept clicking through things as I typed lots of emails. So Discovery Plus is, if it didn't cost money, I would have it.
What the heck is that? What I heard you say is, it is good enough that I don't value any of my money to go to it. But while it's free, love it.
Take it all in, man.
It's basically Tubi TV is what it is. It's or Pluto TV or whatever. Yeah. So after the documentary has come out, compounded with Carl Lentz, compounded with Brian Houston's father, and the raping of little boys, and I have to assume little girls. Who knows? I have no idea. But it takes a special kind of human to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the average victim number for a man uncaught is like 53. So, and listening to his sermons at the end with the comments he was making about children.
Revolting. Look at those young men in the back. Looking good, looking sharp. And you, young man, you look strong. I'll bet you are strong. Supple hands. Look at his hands and that skin. And that sounds cringy if you're listening and haven't watched the show. I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not that far away from probably being close to verbatim from this man's sermon. Sermon. Yeah. So this all comes out, and then like what, last week, maybe a week and a half ago, a lot of these churches, I have to assume across the globe, but maybe not, are basically like, I'm not part of Hillsong anymore. Like, and Easter's the day. Sorry, you can still come to church, but we're not that anymore. And so there is a question posed in the series, and I wrote it down, and I don't know who said it at the end. I feel like it was a young lady. She looked to be in her 60s, some kind of a professor, and they stopped showing names in the third episode, and so I couldn't keep track because I wasn't really reading the screen. She says what everyone watching this should be watching for is that if Hillsong no longer exists as Hillsong, it will still exist as something else.
Absolutely.
What is the something else? Like, because we should be looking for it.
Okay. So, oh man, how do I explain this? I want to be direct and concise so that people don't get lost in the sauce of things. Okay. If you show up at a church and they are fundamentally concerned with the production value of, okay, hold on, let me I'm trying to like think about an image. Okay. Let's think about the solar system, like they're different planets, right? And like, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, not Pluto anymore, right? Like you may have all these things, or you may have some of them, but like you're not far off. Like you should be looking for the other things, right? And so I think we have to start asking ourselves like what a church celebrates. So if a church celebrates, who a church celebrates will be an indicator of what the church prioritizes, right? I live in New York City, and when before Hillsong, there was another church that was known as the Models Church, the Actors Church. So we knew that, quote unquote, the pretty people went there.
You mean that as a character, like like Fifth Avenue? That's where they go. The runway models. That's where they got you.
Exactly. Okay, right. Okay. And so the expectation was like, John, you can't just show up looking like that, right? Because the chaplain for the Jets goes to this church.
That doesn't look like Gucci. You can get in on Coach. Right. I'm gonna need you to get Gucci.
Yeah, and I need to allocate in my budget like $25 to $50 to eat brunch afterwards every Sunday. Like we're gonna do this there's a certain box, right? And then there's like the academics church, right? Like, I'll say that because everybody knows that in New York City is Tim Keller's church, Redeemer, right? Like there's these brands of churches. And so if a church is concerned about and celebrates people who fit a certain aesthetic, then I think that's a Mercury. That's a Mercury. It's like, it looks like something is there, right? And then I think the next thing from that is like not just who is prioritized and celebrated, but like than the story that the church tells about itself, right? If a church is marketing itself like a product, like this is the best thing, like we are different from, right? Like we're trying to distinguish ourselves from other churches, not trying to encourage the body or like concerned about you coming, concerned about you giving. Like there's a way to do that in a way that is open-handed and kingdom-minded, and there's a way to do that where like I'm really concerned about meeting our budget and my church growing and like this goal, right? Mm-hmm. And that this requires you building relationships with people there and actually putting some work in, but like that's a Venus, right? Like I've had conversations with pastors and leaders who, we get into the conversation and they're like, yeah, our church, like I literally had a conversation. They said, our church is not a mission. We're a church. We're not going to feed the homeless. We're not going to do that. We don't. And I said, well, what do you want to do with all this space? Well, the space is for us. The space is not for the community. And I was like, thank you for being clear. You know what I'm saying? Because I want people to know what to expect when they come in. So like a Mercury is who you prioritize. A Venus is like what the church markets itself as and what it like tells a story about itself. And I think Earth is like watching what the people do. Like if people are supervising each other, like the Christian, like in EHA, like emotional healthy activists that talk about like these are colonized like congregants, right? So you turn everyone into an overseer. And so then everyone is trying to perform as best as possible. So you've got the whitewashed tombs, like training people to become whitewashed tombs, to become inauthentic, to start to perform Christianity and stuff like that. And then I think the last piece is, so that's Earth, right? Like the people in the church. Then you got Mars, and these are the outliers, right? Who does the church push away?
Yeah.
Who are they not willing to platform? Who are the pastors that like get mentioned, like get thrown under the bus, right? It's like, oh, well, we're not like that person or that person, right? And then I think when you hit the asteroid belt, these are like the red flags where you're like, oh, I've heard about abuse and they didn't do anything about it. Or I've heard about like the money and like how things are being spent. Like, I think there's a point where we realize like this is not good, but then we stay anyway because we bought into Mercury, Venus, and Earth. Like we like the people.
Yeah. And I like this space. That's my pew.
I like the music. Like I like what's happening. Like we bought into the aesthetic. And once we cross the asteroid belt, like we're in. Like we'll take the gas giants. Like the pastor is not that bad, right? Like, it can't be that bad because we're already enmeshed. We like being part of the group. We like to be seen. And then I think, we're lost. But like that's something to look for when churches look more like, your best brunch spot or your best Walmart, or like when it starts to look like a product and a production, like I think that's a problem. Put in our culture today. It may be something else later, but like.
Yeah. And the way that you describe that with the solar system, I like. However, when you describe where a church is in that asteroid belt, that feels like most congregations. Like, and I don't mean any specific one. Like, it feels like the arguments that the Methodists keep having about a lot of things, and the Mennonites keep having about a lot of things.
Yes.
And the Lutherans, and the Southern Baptists, and we're just going to sweep this sexual stuff under the rug because we really like being here in Dallas, and we really also like this money. Like that feels like pretty much everything that you read on a daily basis when you're like, oh, we did it. Come on, y'all. Why are we doing this again? Feels like that.
Like Seth, like I'll be straight up, right? Like I'm in a church plant, and I've told the pastor this, so like it's fine. Like me and Priscilla were like, look, if we turn into that, we will leave. Like we're just, I'm just not interested. And I think that's what we have to be willing to do. It's just like anything, right? Like, I don't like that the clothes that I can afford for my kids when I have to buy new ones are Old Navy. I know what Old Navy does in Sri Lanka. I know what they do in Cambodia, right? Like I do not buy like not fair trade coffee or a fair trade sugar or direct trade chocolate. Like because I can't bring myself to do it, right? But if you move those things more intimate, right? Where it's like, oh, like, man, this dude hit his wife. But I really like him. like he'll be all right. Like I don't have to bring that up with like leadership or stuff. Like we'll just keep it quiet.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, like it seems like that they're hanging out a lot. Like he looked at her in this weird way, but like it's fine. I don't need to follow up. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, like when we start to like make those excuses, like I think we just run into serious.
Or like
serious
that story of the young lady with Carl Lentz, like the word that she put in there was, I thought it was weird that he put my phone number in his notes tab.
Right.
But it's probably fine. It's
right.
It's okay. Because he was cool. He seemed nice. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And and I don't know, man. Like the thing that I think about now with pastors, like I'm 36 years old. Like I'm a congregant. Like I want to follow people too. You know what I mean? And I think if you don't want to be like your pastor, you shouldn't be at the church. Like I'm not saying they don't preach good sermons, like all that stuff, but if you look at them and you're like, I don't want to be like them, right? Like, and I'm not talking about like dressing like them or things, but like getting to know the people and the leaders that are in front of you in such a way that you can say like, yeah, like I want to be like them because they want to be like Jesus. And that requires investment and knowledge and all those things. That you cannot be a consumer, right? And that's what Hillsong is. Excuse me. Has based their entire thing on, is that like we can create consumer-based Christianity and people will buy it, and we did. Yeah. I never bought an album, but you know.
Yeah. No, I have Spotify, so I've listened to the albums.
Exactly.
You know? So some money has gone to them through me streaming, and some of that is and so this is a question. So I lead worship in our church, or I'm one of the people that sings song in our church. I do not. I'm not paid. I'm not the worship leader, nor do I want to be. I just genuinely enjoy doing it, but I'll also just like play a Taylor Swift song with the kids. Like I just enjoy music, singing, having a good time. I like hitting notes that my younger children can't do, and then being like, "Come on, you can hit it. I need you to open your mouth, like you just loosen it up. Why are you so stiff? Just it's okay.
Lean your head forward, like don't go like this.
You're hurting yourself. There's no reason for that. Yeah. How I want to say this and keep it private. I know that people will listen to this and be like, I can't support any of this. Like cancel Procter and Gamble, cancel Nickelodeon, cancel Will Smith, cancel Hillsong. Like I can't do this. So can churches still, should they feel guilty about like, you know what? I need the CCL rights to this Hillsong song today because I don't really like Chris Tomlin either. So I got to pick one of these songs, and they write all of the songs that people want to sing currently in church. Can we still do these and feel good about it? Should we just be like, no, I'm just going to page CXVI. We're just going to redo all the hymns. And that's all that we're doing.
All right. So this is going to be a long answer, but I'm going to start off with the thing my wife said, because Priscilla is great. And someone asked her a question about, like do all things work together? Like everything works out. And she goes, a great leader like once said, like God is the grand weaver. And like he is like we are yet just in his tapestry. And like God is doing these amazing things. And the person walked away and was like, yeah, like I'm part of what God is doing, right? She did not say Ravi Zacharias said that in the midst of like raping and abusing people. She didn't say that. She pointed to God because it's true that God, without giving him any praise, without giving Ravi Zacharias any praise. And that's what I think we have to do, just on a practical level, is like we are so used to exhorting and giving credit to people that don't deserve it. And I was when I went on sabbatical in 2019, because I mean I'm messed up. I've made mistakes. Like one of the worst things that I modeled was like overworking. Like we would have interns and I would be up with them all hours of the night and like doing stuff. Like it didn't model a sustainable life for an adult for them at all, right? And so I was praying and I was talking with God, and I was like, God, like I feel like because I can literally look at people that I've mentored and see their marriages and see how I could have influenced them in an unhelpful way, you know? And I was like, God, like, is anything that I did like worth it at all to you? And like, how could any of this work? And then he goes, Jonathan, I am gracious. That is why there's any fruit from what you do. I am gracious. And that's where I think like God is gracious and wonderful. And like we get to play a part, but like Hillsong, all they do is write songs. They write songs. And just like, you know, we could say George Whitefield was a slave owner. Jonathan Edwards was a rapist and a slave owner. Folks like Thomas Jefferson, like all these people, right? Like I think we have to be able to hold in tension the terrible, atrocious things that people do and what they've actually put into the world. And so I don't, there isn't a story about this, but I imagine that Jesus ate and drank and had things where exploitation tainted it. Where like there was just a problem. Like I imagine if somebody brought him food, somewhere along that supply chain of Jesus getting that bread that he broke, or that little boy and his 2 fish or whatever, like there was something that happened that was messed up. And he didn't say like, no, like I'm not going to be a part of this. You know what I mean? But he broke bread and said, thank you. Right. And I'm not saying we dismiss everything and like, you know, say, oh, it's all fine because all the money is messed up. Right. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is like, if we think that not singing this song is going to make us more righteous, then we've lost already.
Yeah.
Because every song is it's written by a human being that was flawed. Right. And so I will say, though, for a worship leader, and we've had conversations like this with the prayer meetings that we've led, is like, if you are performing, not worshiping, don't sing the song. So like Courtney Wong, our teachers how to pray curriculum, we worked on that for 10 years. The scriptures we had, the songs we used, because they were designed to lead people into worship, not elation. We're designed to, you know, like the goal was not to have like the smoke come in at the right moment and everybody just gets to this euphoric spot. The goal was for people to experience God.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that is actually the line where it's like worship or performance. Like if this song you worship to, like sing the song. Yeah. You know, but if you're performing it to meet this need that the 8th graders have and you want to keep them in your church and like all that stuff, then like no, like we've already lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like I you know, particularly like doing like the work that I've done around like sex trafficking, labor, slavery and stuff like that. Like the United States is a list of all of the suspected exploited goods that come into the United States. It's a loophole in our judicial code that says if we can't prove it, then it can come in. But the Department of Labor and Statistics like actually tracks all of it. There's a map they release every year of every product. And if we said that we would just not take it, we could stop slavery today. Yeah. In India. Like we could do that, but we're not going to do it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So all that to say, I think we should just be grateful. And then if it leads us into worship, then do it. But if we're performing to keep people there and like please an audience, then we need to stop. And that's a bigger problem.
Except for Oceans. Stop singing Oceans.
You should not punish any drummer to play that song. Because it's a real, I play like percussion, right? So it's a really hard, it's a terrible song. The drums, it's so hard. There's so many places where you could just look terrible. See, performance, right? Like it's because you have to do it the way it's done on the album. Because everybody wants you to do it the way it's done on the album.
Yeah.
Because they want YouTube, like, except with other people. You know, and
YouTube with other people.
I literally said to someone, I said, like, if I go to a church and it's really just a podcast with other people, that's not church. Like we're experiencing everything like by ourselves. Like you even take our coffee and food in. We're kind of, you know, but it's just a live podcast with the pastor right there. Then we just go home. You know. So anyway, that's just It's not about that life.
But so what last question. What
No
was
worries.
your favorite episode of this miniseries?
Oh man. Whenever the sneakers and preachers dude showed up.
Ben Kirby's hilarious.
Like cause he, I think like when he said Carl Lentz called me and I just gave him my name.
Yeah. My name's Ben.
Like,
oh no.
I was like, no, you didn't. You fell for it. Oh, you know. But I think that moment right there epitomizes for me like just the power of it, man. That the dude would call you, you have a conversation, you know, that we believe the best about people. Certain folks get the benefit of the doubt, like all that stuff. Like that to me was like, oh, Earth. You just got put on Earth and now you're in it. You know what I mean? You were a spectator before, but now you're on the planet and you drink it, you know.
Ben's story is great because he's like, I just think this is funny. And then hundreds of thousands of people are like, that's not funny. And I'm gonna tell my friends, still not funny. Like you can't stop looking at it. Like I'm all the time looking at what he posts and be like, why are we the way that we are? Like, come on.
Yes.
Like that's like I don't even if I had the money. So I do well. And my wife and I we do what we can to give away quite a bit of and we try to be generous. But like I still buy my like suits at the outlet mall when they're on sale because I'm like, I don't need $1,000 suit. I would like to get 5 of them for $1,000. And yes, it does not fit right. I don't care because I mean it's synthetic fibers and most of the time I'm sitting down anyway. Like I can't ever see a time that I'd be like, I need these $3,000 shoes. I need them in my life and not as an investment to wear. I'm gonna wear like
all the time. I'm gonna rock it.
I could see the case for, you know, people buy and sell stocks. People do baseball cards. I could see the case for, no, I'm buying these Jordans because they're worth $5,000 and I know they're going to be worth $7,000 and I'm going to sell them. I can see a case for that.
Right.
But to wear, like his story's crazy.
Like I mean, that's another rabbit hole. Like you're looking at like a custom bookshelf behind me, right?
I like it. I'm a little bit jealous about it, actually.
Listen, you
the
know,
ladder is what I'm feeling like. I like that.
We paid for that before the hurricane, right? But it's one of those things where like this is a live thing for me because again, like this was close to home because I knew people in that church, you know. And as a leader, I'm like, what am I susceptible to as I'm watching this, right? But the I hope that as people watch it, you know, with your free subscription that you're gonna delete a week later, is like, you know, have the outrage that we're talking about, like it makes no sense, these sneakers and watches and shoes and stuff, but then like flip it over and be like, all right, so where is that for me? You know, like where is that? You know, because we're all in the same economy, you know what I mean? And so like how to break out of that is really a question that I'm trying to figure out. Because Priscilla said to me, she's like, Jonathan, you may not buy a shirt. She said, but if your phone breaks, you're going to get the new one the next day. She goes, if you can get out the house same day, you can go buy that new phone. And she's like, so Jonathan, let's talk about that. And I'm like, don't get close to me. Don't get in my stuff. you know what I'm saying?
Mind your business. I don't go through your makeup drawer. You mind your business.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
You don't need Clinique. You can get that Equate version. I'm the same way though. So I got a new phone recently and my wife was like, you're going to get like the most recent one. I was like, yes. However, when I buy these, my last one was 6 years old. Exactly. Like I use it until literally it goes software no longer updatable. Right. So like when I can't do my banking on my phone because the software won't support it, then I get a new phone because I'm like, all right, now I have used it as much as I can.
Yes.
Because most of the pictures that I take are so far zoomed in. It's like my kid playing second base and I'm like in the bleachers. You can't even tell that it's my kid. I'm gonna tell you it's my kid, but like you can't. It's so far. It's just grains of sand on the screen. Yeah. So I have to ask you because this is what I do now and I like it. So what is God?
Oh Lord. Like the third time this is happening. Oh man. What is God?
You want me to just edit in the last one?
No. The other one. I don't think I'm gonna cry this time. It's just, he's amazing. Man. God today is just all the in between and stuff that I wish I could catch, but like has slipped through my fingers to the point now that I'm like trying to find where all the pieces fell so that I can like start over. Because I think trying to catch a limitless God with like my two hands was like I'm a fool to think that I could have done that. But he's okay, but like he's okay with me like now crouching down to pick up like what he was dropping before and give me more, because he's generous like that. I think God is 3 in 1 and 1 in 3. And when I explained that to Maya and she wasn't confused, but thought it was amazing that I would write a poem for her that she could then connect back to her relationship with God. Like I can do that with her because God does that for me. Like he makes it simple. He helps me understand. He helps me get it. I can trust him. And I can trust them. And God today is not one who requires my defense of him, her, themselves. Like I don't have to fight for him. I could just talk about what I know. And that is more than enough. Like yeah. But God is amazing. Like it's amazing. And he's the only thing that I'm certain of in this entire world. That he is there, that he is coming, and that all things will be made right. And if I didn't believe that, I'd be then Judas myself, So
Yeah. So what are the good bones that you want people to do as it relates to what you're doing in the world? Because you do a lot of things. Where do you want to put people in?
There's 3 things, 3 streams. Fortunately, it's been clarified because I had to take care of my kids and take care of myself and love my neighbor as well. Political discipleship and education, I think, is going to be the thing that that doesn't hold our country together, but like gives people the tools not to fall apart internally. And so what we're doing with KTF Press, like Shake the Dust on Substack, I think I feel really good about that stuff. And I wrote a poem. It's going to come out on Friday. Well, when this drops, it'll already be out. But so ktfpress.com, the anthology that we did is, I think, it'll just be exceptionally helpful for 2022 and 2024 because we're in the same cycle. So that's just ktfpress.com. And then for folks who want to go deeper and have conversations about this stuff regularly, like that's emotionallyhealthyactivist.com. Like I'm working with multiple groups, and that's just life-giving, man, to talk with activists and people who want to seek justice and talk about how we can do this for a lifetime and not just a couple weeks. Like processing the anger, the pain, and responding to Jesus and not your mama's fears, like like that work is I love doing that because I was messed up for a long time, and fortunately Jesus and my wife and people helped me, and so I love doing that work. So emotionallyactivist.com for folks who are just trying to put this stuff together and move somewhere. And then all of the racial justice, ethnic reconciliation stuff lives within InterVarsity for me now. So that's just, you can go to jonathanwalton.com for that. But it's really interesting to me how these three streams work together in one kind of universe. And it's only separate because of the law and politics in the United States. Like literally, like InterVarsity can't talk about politics unless we're like right wing. So I have to separate the thing out to do it, right?
And they're good with that? They're good with you being like, yeah, okay, cool.
Totally fine. Because it saves them the lawsuits and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, I meant good with, hey, because some people will write and then they want to say something else and they're like, yeah, but now you don't get to write for us anymore. Like, you got a reputation now and we don't want to be associated with that.
No, today it's fine.
It's up to Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, you can edit this out for your patrons if you want, but like money is, yeah. How do I want to say this?
No, you don't say anything if you don't want to.
Maybe you can edit this out, but listen, like what bothers me, and this is part of the Hillsong thing too, is like money is the thing that talks. So like if I work for a Christian organization and I'm fully funded, there are certain things that I'll move forward. If I go to a church and I give money, there's certain things that I'll move forward. If I advocate for a nonprofit, I'm a big donor, there's certain things that move forward. Like it's like the way that money moves and makes things happen is disturbing to me. And it works to my advantage in InterVarsity. Yeah. Because I'm abundant. Yeah. I can raise support.
I don't think I'm going to edit it out. I think I'm just going to make it say boop and let people wonder if you just started cussing for 40 seconds straight.
That works. But yeah, so
but I'll leave like every fourth word.
I know,
I'll leave it in there for the patrons so they can hear it. But the episode itself, I think I'm just going to, what really happens is boop talks.
That's awesome. But yeah, all the easiest place though for people to keep up with stuff is on Instagram. So if you go to Instagram, search EH Activist or Jonathan Walton, like all the stuff is there. It's like that's the easiest platform right now to manage.
Yeah, cool. Jonathan, it's late. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here, man. I look forward to next time. Amen.
Yeah.